The equipment trailer busted a hitch mid-morning, so the foreman cut us loose. I was home by 11, figuring I'd catch some football reruns and get off my feet. I came through the garage door like I always did, quiet, nothing dramatic, and right away I heard her voice. She was in the dining room, laughing, on the phone. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and paused. Something about the way she was laughing stopped me. It wasn't her normal giggle. It was sharp, mean. I stayed back in the hallway. "Mom, seriously, he still has no idea," she said, chuckling low. "I mean, 5 years. He thinks those boys are his. It's almost sad." My stomach dropped. I stepped closer, careful not to creak the floor. She kept going. "No, I'm not worried. He's too stupid to ever figure it out. He's obsessed with those kids. I mean, come on, he thinks the younger one has his smile. Can you believe that?" Her mom laughed on speaker. "Well, you've got him locked in now. He'll be paying no matter what." "Oh, totally. He's wrapped around their little fingers. We could tell him they're aliens and he'd still be packing their lunch." Couldn't breathe. 5 years. 5 damn years I'd been raising those boys like they were mine. Diapers, school pickups, late-night fevers. And she was here, laughing about it like I was some idiot off the street. I didn't say a word. Didn't stomp, didn't shout. Just turned around, walked back out the door, and slid into my truck. Keys in the ignition, hands shaking. I drove 2 blocks and pulled over near the corner gas station. My phone buzzed. It was her. Probably didn't realize I'd been home. I didn't answer. I stared at the windshield, trying to make sense of what I just heard. My mind was racing. Every memory with the boys ran through my head like a movie reel. First steps, birthday parties, bedtime stories. All fake. I clenched the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My jaw was tight. I wasn't just hurt. I was humiliated. Played. Used like some walking wallet. She thought I'd never find out. That I'd keep smiling and going to parent-teacher conferences like a chump. I put the truck in gear and started driving. I didn't know where yet. I just knew I wasn't going back in there. Not yet. Not until I had proof. I drove aimlessly for maybe 10 minutes before I pulled over near an old strip mall off Route 11. I sat there in the driver's seat, chest tight, heart pounding, fingers twitching over my phone. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew I wasn't going to sit around crying like a fool. I needed answers. Hard proof. I typed paternity testing lab near me and hit call on the first number that offered same-day appointments. A woman answered. "Gentech Labs, how can I help you? I need a paternity test. Same day if you've got it." There was a pause. "We can fit you in at 4 o'clock. Do you have hair samples with root follicles? We'll need one from you and each child." "I can get that," I said. "All right, bring valid ID and payment. Expedited results are an extra charge. Don't care what it costs." She gave me the address. I hung up and just sat there for a second, feeling like my skin didn't fit anymore. My own damn body felt foreign. I checked the time, 11:30. She always left around 1 on Thursdays for her salon appointment. I had 2 hours to get in and get out. I waited until I saw her car roll past me heading toward Main Street, just like clockwork. She never skipped her Thursday routine. I headed straight home. Inside, I moved quick. The boys' bathroom was a mess, as usual. Paw Patrol towel on the floor. Little plastic dinosaurs in the sink. I found their brushes in the drawer. Bright blue for Jordan, green for Eli. I pulled out a few strands from each, made sure they had the white bulbs at the end. Grabbed a few from my own brush too, then took them all to the kitchen. Labeled 3 sandwich bags with a Sharpie, me, Jordan, Eli. Sealed them tight. I tossed the bags into an envelope and shoved it inside my jacket. By the time I got to the lab, I was early. The building was plain. Gray walls, no signs except the number above the door. Inside, it smelled like antiseptic and printer toner. The woman from the phone sat behind a glass window. Her smile was tight, professional. No small talk. I handed her the samples and my license. "You're requesting expedited results?" she asked. "Yeah. I want it back as fast as possible. That'll be 375 total. Results within 72 hours. I paid with my debit card. She gave me a receipt and said I'd get an email with login info to view the report. Felt cold. Clinical. Like I was paying someone to shatter whatever was left of my life. I shoved the receipt in my wallet and turned to leave. I was halfway across the parking lot when I stopped. My thumb hovered over my contacts list. I scrolled until I found his name, Dave R., my old buddy from work. He went through a nasty divorce 2 years ago, and I remembered him mentioning a lawyer who didn't mess around. I tapped call. He picked up after a couple rings. Yo, what's up? I need that lawyer you used. The bulldog. What was his name? Vincent Riker. Guy's a shark. Why? I'll explain later. You got his number. He read it off. I wrote it down on the back of an old gas receipt. I hung up and called right away. The woman who answered didn't ask questions when I said I needed a divorce attorney. Fast. We can fit you in tomorrow morning at 8, she said. Perfect. I ended the call, sat in the truck for a second, and let out a long breath. My fingers were still shaking, but I wasn't frozen anymore. I had a plan now. The game had changed, and I wasn't sitting on the sidelines anymore. By 7:30 the next morning, I was sitting in the parking lot of a brick office building on the edge of town. My coffee was cold, untouched. I hadn't slept more than an hour, but I didn't feel tired. I felt wired, ready, like I was walking into a fight. The gold plaque next to the door read, Vincent Riker, Family Law. I stepped in. Receptionist took my name and pointed me to the corner office. He looked exactly like I pictured, mid-50s, clean-shaven, tight gray suit. Didn't smile much. Barely looked up when I walked in. Sit, he said, waving toward the chair across from his desk. Talk. I laid it out fast. My wife, the phone call, the lab test in progress. When I got to the part about raising the boys for 5 years, he stopped me. Are you listed on the birth certificates? Yeah, I said. Both of them. He leaned back, nodded like he'd seen this play out 100 times. That complicates things, he said. Legally, you're the presumed father. Doesn't matter what biology says, not yet, anyway. But if the DNA comes back 0%, we've got a shot at disestablishing paternity. How ugly's that gonna get? It's war, he said. Custody, money, reputation, all of it. I didn't flinch. I'm ready. Good. Here's what I need from you, he said. First, keep your mouth shut. Don't confront her. Don't let on you know anything. Keep the peace until you've got evidence in your hands. I nodded. Second, documentation. Phone records, texts, receipts, anything suspicious. I want proof of deception. Courts care about facts, not feelings. I don't have a recording of the call, I said. Just my memory of it. That's fine. Not great, but fine. You've already taken a big step with the lab. When those results come in, forward them to me immediately. We'll prep the paternity disestablishment and the divorce petition the same day. I leaned forward. You think I'll have to keep paying child support? If we act fast and the court accepts the DNA, no, he said. But if you screw up, if you tip her off, she could try to stall and lock you in financially for good. So what do I do when I go home? He folded his hands. You act normal. You kiss her goodnight. You help the kids with homework. You smile and play dumb. No attitude, no distance. You're just dad. Until the truth hits the paper. That's gonna be rough. He met my eyes. You want to win or feel better for 5 minutes? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Final thing, he said. Keep an eye on the money. Check your accounts daily. Any funny transfers or hidden spending, document it and send it to me. He slid a plain manila folder across the desk. My assistant will email you forms. Fill them out tonight. I took the folder. Felt heavier than it should have been. He stood. You've got one shot at doing this clean. Stay sharp. The minute you get those results, you call me. I will. I shook his hand. His grip was firm. No nonsense. Back outside, I exhaled for what felt like the first time all morning. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about control. Proof. Power. I had my orders. I knew what I had to do. Now it was game on. I pulled into the driveway that night just after 5. Porch light was already on, dinner smells coming from the kitchen window. My stomach turned, but I walked inside like nothing was wrong. She greeted me at the door with a smile, kissed my cheek like she always did. I kissed her back. Didn't flinch. "Dinner's almost ready," she said, flipping something in a pan. "Can you call the boys down?" "Yeah, I got it." Jordan and Eli came barreling down the stairs when I called. Jordan had marker on his face. Eli was missing a sock. I laughed because that's what they expected. My heart cracked a little every time I looked at them. At the table, she told me about some coworkers' drama while passing me the green beans. I nodded, chewed, asked follow-up questions, smiled on cue. I watched her talk like she hadn't burned our entire life down behind my back. After dinner, I read Goodnight Moon like always. Tucked them in. Hugged them tight. Tighter than I probably should have. Jordan whispered, "Love you, Dad." Before rolling over to sleep, I stood in the doorway a second longer than usual. Then I got to work. Started in the coat closet by the front door. She always kept that puffy maroon jacket tucked in the back. I dug through the inner pocket and my fingers brushed cold plastic. A phone. Not hers. Different case. Different model. No lock screen. I scrolled fast. Messages from a guy named E. Some texts were old. Some weren't. Stuff like, "I miss you too," and "Can't believe how close he gets without noticing." Photos. Hotel room selfies. My chest tightened. My ears burned. I snapped photos of every thread. Emailed them to myself and to Riker. Next stop, her purse. Tucked inside a zip pocket was a wrinkled receipt from a red roof in 2 towns over. Dated almost 6 years ago. Right around when Eli would have been conceived. I pulled up my phone and checked our calendar from back then. That same weekend, she told me she was visiting her aunt in Nashville. Bullshit. I snapped a photo of the receipt, bagged the original, labeled it, and dropped it in my work backpack. Then I went after her laptop. She never logged out of anything. Took about 5 minutes to find the bank statement. Not our joint account, but another one. Different bank. Payments going out monthly, 50 here, 80 there. All labeled transfer. Traced back over 5 years. Totaled almost 12 grand. I exported the records, saved them on a flash drive, and backed them up to my cloud account. Texted the file to Riker with a note. Hidden account plus transactions. More coming. I stood up, cracked my back, and checked the time. Past midnight. She was already asleep. The hallway was quiet. I stood outside the boys' room again, watching the glow of their nightlight spill across the floor. Jordan made this little snoring sound he always did when he was wiped. Eli clutched that stuffed bear I gave him for his 2nd birthday. They looked peaceful, safe, loved. They had no clue, and they still called me Dad. I closed the door slowly, careful not to make a sound, then walked back to our bedroom like I hadn't just pulled the pin on a grenade. I woke up to my phone buzzing on the nightstand. The room was still dark, early morning light just starting to slip through the blinds. I grabbed the phone, squinting at the screen. New email, subject line, paternity results available. My stomach flipped. For a second, I just stared at it, thumb hovering. Then I opened it. There it was. 2 lines. 2 names. Both marked 0% probability of paternity. That was it. 2 small numbers that killed 5 years of my life. I sat there on the edge of the bed, staring at the screen until my hands stopped shaking. The email felt unreal, like reading an obituary with my name on it. Then I took a breath, hit forward, and sent it straight to Riker with no message attached. A minute later, my phone buzzed again. "Riker, come in tomorrow. 8 a.m. bring everything." That was all he said. That was all I needed. I showered on autopilot, dressed for work, but the second I got in my truck, I couldn't bring myself to start it. I just sat there with the key halfway turned. My head was spinning, but my body felt numb. I pulled out my phone again and called the shop. Told them I was sick. My voice cracked halfway through, but the guy didn't question it. I drove aimlessly for a while before heading home. The whole time I kept hearing the word 0 in my head. 0. Not low. Not questionable. 0. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was already there. My chest tightened. I walked in. She was on the couch watching some reality show, feet up, eating chips. Looked at me over her shoulder like nothing had ever happened. "Hey," she said. "You're home early. Everything okay?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired." She muted the TV. "You sure? You look pale." "I'm fine," I said a little too quickly. She shrugged and turned the volume back up. "All right, dinner's on the counter if you're hungry." That was it. Like we were strangers sharing a house. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and leaned against the counter. My hands were trembling, so I gripped the glass harder until the shaking stopped. Every second in that house felt heavier. The walls felt smaller. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to show her what she'd done. But Riker's voice echoed in my head. "Keep your mouth shut. Don't engage." So I didn't. I ate cold leftovers in silence, then went upstairs and pretended to fall asleep early. She came in later, kissed my shoulder, whispered, "Night," and rolled over. I stared at the ceiling, eyes wide open. The clock ticked louder than it ever had before. My mind wouldn't stop replaying everything. The first time she told me she was pregnant, the night we brought the boys home, the birthday parties, the family photos. All fake. 0%. The words burned behind my eyelids. I laid there, listening to her breathing beside me, steady and calm, like she hadn't just built our life on a lie. Tomorrow morning, it would all start to unravel. By 7:30, I was sitting back across from Riker, manila folder in my lap, rage boiling low and steady in my gut. He didn't waste time. "You got the results?" I slid the printout across the desk. He scanned it, nodded. "All right, let's light the fuse." He opened a binder and started pulling forms. "We're filing the divorce petition, paternity disestablishment, and a reimbursement claim for child-related expenses. Everything from daycare to diapers goes on the record." He pointed to a spot on the page. "Your name's on both birth certificates. That makes this a fight, but the DNA clears the path. You're not their father. Legally, we're going to fix that." I signed without hesitation. Then he dropped a new folder in front of me. "You recognize this name?" He tapped the top form. "Eric Holmes." My jaw clenched. Yeah, that was her boyfriend back in the day. She said it was nothing serious. He didn't even smirk. "Well, records from the motel she visited 6 years ago say otherwise. Her room was next to his. Same block. Same weekend. You said she told you she was in Nashville?" I nodded. He flipped through the file. "We got his full name from the guest registry. We'll deal with him later. Right now, we serve her. Publicly. Loud and clean." I raised an eyebrow. "You already picked the spot?" "She goes to that Zumba class at the Y on Fridays. 10 a.m. Sound about right?" I grinned. "Perfect." The next morning, I parked 2 blocks from the rec center and waited. A dark sedan pulled in behind me. Process server, big guy in a windbreaker. He gave me a nod, grabbed the envelope, and walked toward the front doors like he was delivering pizza. I watched from the lot as she bounced up the steps in leggings and a ponytail, earbuds in, no clue what was coming. Then he stopped her. Quick conversation. Envelope handed over. She jerked back, tried to refuse it. Too late. Served. I saw her mouth, "Are you serious?" Then look around, humiliated. The server turned and walked off without a word. She whipped her phone out and called me before she even made it back to her car. I didn't answer. The text started right after. "What the hell is this? We need to talk now. Why would you do this in public? You're being cruel. Don't do this to the boys." Voicemails came next. First angry, then crying. I turned the volume all the way down and let it all pile up. That night, when I came home from work, the house was dead quiet. Kitchen lights off. The boys' backpacks gone. I found a handwritten note on the counter. It said, "Took the boys to Mom's for the weekend. We need to figure this out. Please." I folded the note once and dropped it in the trash. Next morning, Riker called me first. Her mother rang my office. Wanted mediation. I laughed. Of course she did. She used the word unnecessary 3 times. I shut it down. Good. We'll move forward as planned. She wants to play games. We'll bury her in paperwork. I hung up and leaned back in my chair, eyes on the ceiling. The calm before the next wave. She wanted a private little secret. Instead, I gave her a public disaster. And I was just getting started. By Monday morning, Riker's assistant had the call recordings, bank screenshots, motel receipts, and sign test results filed and organized. We weren't just building a case, we were building a reckoning. 2 hours later, Riker called me from his direct line. Hotel confirmed it, he said. Her credit card paid for the room, 2 nights, same block, directly next door to Eric Holmes. 6 years ago, mid-May. Right when she told me she was visiting family. You ready to blow the roof off this thing? Born ready. That afternoon, we served Eric Holmes at his office, some auto parts distribution center in Clarksville. One of Riker's guys walked right into the break room with a sealed envelope and handed it to him in front of his coworkers. Court order. Paternity test. Mandatory compliance. He tried to act confused, apparently. Didn't last long once he read the name on the document. The next morning, I got hit with a notification from the court system. She'd filed an emergency motion for full custody and temporary support. Riker called me an hour later, already laughing. She's panicking. Her motion's sloppy, 0 evidence, and she's trying to paint you as unstable. And denied. Judge rejected it in 30 minutes flat. We're still in control. I let out a breath I didn't even know I was holding. That panic I'd been carrying since the phone call finally cracked just a little. But the moment was short. Her mom called me that night from a blocked number. I picked up without thinking. You piece of garbage, she snapped. Do you have any idea what you're doing to those boys? I didn't say a word. She kept going. They love you. You're their father. This is sick. What kind of man takes his revenge out on children? I almost laughed. Maybe the kind of man who raised kids that weren't his and got laughed at behind his back. You're throwing away your family. No, I said. Your daughter did that for me. I hung up before she could answer. 2 days later, Riker forwarded me the lab results from Eric's test. Subject A, Eric Holmes. Subject B, Eli. Result: 99.98% match. Jordan 2. Both boys were his. Riker didn't even wait. Filed the update with the court and sent me one line in a text. We got him. But the fallout didn't stop there. That night, Eric's wife filed for divorce. Riker had a buddy at the county clerk's office who confirmed it. She dropped the paperwork 2 hours after the paternity results were logged. Eric got served at home. His wife kept the house. He got visitation and a new monthly obligation. Child support for 2 boys he never even knew about until now. Meanwhile, my soon-to-be ex was ordered to start reimbursement payments to me, beginning immediately. The judge put a freeze on her hidden account and flagged it for recovery. It was like watching dominoes fall. She tried calling me again. Not to apologize, not to explain. Just more panic. Texts like, "This is getting out of hand. We can fix this privately. The boys are confused. They miss you." I didn't respond. I sent it all to Riker and let him deal with it. She wanted control, leverage, sympathy. All she got was silence. Eric's name was on the birth records now. He'd stepped into the fire whether he liked it or not. And me? I was done pretending. I parked outside the courthouse 45 minutes early, dress shirt sticking to my back, hands resting on the steering wheel. I didn't move for a minute, just stared at the front steps. Felt like walking into a cage match, only I came with the receipts. Inside, I met Riker near the security checkpoint. He had a thick folder under his arm and 0 expression on his face. "You ready?" he asked. "Let's finish this." Courtroom 2B was quiet when we walked in. Pale blue walls, uncomfortable wooden benches, the smell of stale coffee and furniture polish. She was already there with her lawyer. Some slick-looking guy in a dark gray suit who kept whispering in her ear like he was prepping her for a talk show. She didn't look at me. We sat, waited. Judge came in 15 minutes later, a short woman with sharp eyes and 0 patience. She got right to business. Riker stood first, handed over the folder. Your Honor, we have DNA test results confirming my client is not the biological father of the children in question. We have matching results confirming Mr. Eric Holmes as the biological father. Also included, he tapped the second tab, are financial records showing thousands in hidden transfers, motel receipts placing both her and Mr. Holmes in the same hotel during the window of conception, and recordings of multiple conversations where the defendant admits to deception. Judge opened the folder, flipped through slowly, quiet in the room except for the sound of paper. Then the other side spoke up. Her lawyer stepped forward, smirking like he thought he had a chance. Your Honor, yes, the DNA evidence is clear, but we argue that my client's husband has acted as the father of these children for over 5 years. Emotionally, practically, financially, he was their dad. That's worth consideration. Judge didn't flinch. You're asking the court to ignore scientific evidence because it's inconvenient for your client? Well, he started. No, she cut him off. Facts are facts. He was misled. The record reflects gross deception. He sank back into his chair. She turned to Riker. You're asking for full disestablishment, reimbursement, and a child support shift to the biological father? Yes, Your Honor. She nodded once. Approved. I let out a slow breath. Not relief, not happiness, just pressure leaving my chest. Paternity is disestablished, she said. Mr. Eric Holmes is hereby ordered to assume financial responsibility as the legal father of both children. Defendant is to reimburse the plaintiff $45,000 in child-related expenses, starting immediately under court supervision. Her pen scratched across the order. Court is adjourned. Just like that, it was done. I walked out of the courtroom without looking back. The hallway felt brighter than it should have. Then I heard her voice behind me. Wait, please. I turned. She stood there at the edge of the hall, arms crossed like she was cold, face streaked with makeup. Her eyes locked on mine. We need to talk, she said. Privately. Just 5 minutes. Please. I stared at her. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Red eyes, trembling hands. I didn't say a word. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she whispered. I was scared, okay? I didn't want to lose you. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She stepped closer. I know I messed up, but we had a family. You loved them. They love you. I held her stare for a second longer. My jaw was tight. Then I turned and walked away. No goodbye. No lecture. Just silence. Her crying followed me down the hallway, but I never looked back. She'd had her chance. I didn't hear from her for about 3 weeks after court. No calls, no texts, no games. Then one morning, I drove past the old CVS near our neighborhood and saw her car. Well, her old car, parked out front with a big orange for sale sign on the windshield. Price written in marker across the hood. $5,900 OBO. Guess she finally figured out how the court intended to get that 45 grand back. I heard from a buddy a few days later that she'd picked up 2 jobs, daytime retail and cleaning houses at night. Someone else said she was driving for a grocery delivery app on weekends. Desperate pace. But that's what happens when you play dumb games and lose big. Eric didn't come out of it clean either. His wife kicked him out, took the house, and filed for divorce within 24 hours of the paternity confirmation. He moved into a cramped 1-bedroom near the edge of town. I heard through Riker's people that half his paycheck was getting sliced for child support now. Serves him right. He wanted to sneak around and have a good time behind my back. Now he gets the bill and the mess. As for her, the fallout was brutal. Fast. Her little social circle, the yoga moms, the church crowd, her old high school friends, they all vanished. One of them ran into me at the hardware store a couple weeks after the hearing and couldn't even look me in the eye. Said, "We had no idea. I'm so sorry," and just kept walking. She lost her friends, lost her image, lost the life she built on lies. But here's the part that cut deeper than anything else. I never saw the boys again. Not once. No goodbye. No last visit. Nothing. It wasn't in the court order. I had the legal right to request visitation if I wanted, but I didn't. And even if I had, would it have helped? They weren't mine. That was the ugly truth. Not by blood, not by law. Still didn't stop it from hurting like hell. Some nights I'd catch myself setting the table for 4 without thinking. Or I'd hear a kid laugh at the grocery store and freeze. Sure, it was one of them. My body would move before my brain caught up. That ache never really went away. I don't think it ever will. One afternoon, I checked the mail and saw an envelope with her handwriting on it. No return address, but I knew it was from her. Inside was a 3-page letter, guilt and pity in every line. She said she missed the way I used to laugh, that the boys cried for me some nights, that I should be the bigger person and try to see the good we had. Said she regretted how it all unfolded, like the whole thing was some random accident. I stood in the garage, holding that letter in my hands for maybe 5 seconds. Then I struck a match and burned the whole damn thing in the metal trash can by the water heater. Watched the flames eat every lie she wrote. She didn't deserve closure. She deserved consequences. A few days after that, I got the final payment notification from Riker. Full reimbursement reached. Case closed. All accounts settled. That was it. After everything, the lies, the betrayal, the wreckage. She was just a name on paper and a past I had no interest in revisiting. The damage was done, and I'd survived it. I moved into a small rental a few miles from the job site. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, decent porch, quiet neighbors. It felt empty at first, but not in a bad way. Just peaceful. A few weeks in, I started talking more with a girl from the office, Jenna. She worked in payroll, sharp as hell, kept to herself mostly. One afternoon she brought me a coffee during a late shift, and we ended up sitting in my truck for over an hour, just talking. By the 3rd date, I laid it all out, every ugly piece of it. The test, the court stuff, the boys. She didn't flinch, didn't ask a million questions or try to fix it. She just said, "That's heavy, but it doesn't scare me," and squeezed my hand. I got promoted not long after that. Site manager. More hours, more responsibility, but it felt good having something solid to throw myself into. I used a chunk of the reimbursement money on a new F-150. Black, clean, no rust, and dumped the rest in savings. I didn't touch a dime of it unless I had to. One Saturday, I stopped by the auto parts store and ran into one of her old friends. Tara, I think. We made eye contact, and she came over real quiet, like she wasn't sure if I'd punch her or ignore her. I just wanted to say, she started. Nobody talks to her anymore. Not after what happened. People were shocked and pissed. She lost everything. I just nodded. I didn't need to say anything. That wasn't my mess anymore. Couple days later, I got a text from an unknown number. Short, passive-aggressive. "I know you hate me, but I hope someday you'll remember the boys needed you." I blocked it without even thinking. Later that night, I sat out on the porch with a beer in my hand and the porch light off. Just the sound of crickets, distant traffic, and the creak of my chair under the quiet. The old me, he would have still been angry, still chasing answers. But that version of me was gone. She thought she'd wrecked my life. Thought she'd left me broken and bitter. But all she did was set me free.